Hi, this is a long overdue update. Just wanted to let people know why I disappeared offline back in, I guess it was 2018. And only a few people around the world know what happened to me, but I wanted to get this message out to let anybody else who is curious to know what occurred. So I'm going to tell you, and yes, it has to do with the shirt I'm wearing. Hope you can appreciate that. Um, and um, so the bottom line is, so back in, well, it's the end of 2017, I guess. I got myself into some legal trouble after 6 years of insomnia and one slap in the face after another, clinically, legally, uh, the works. Uh, I gave in and I threatened Ms. Malpractice. Uh, so I made threats against her, and I'm damn proud of it for the most part. Um, I just wish it had, well, obviously it, wish it never occurred, had got to that point. And if I was going to make threats, well, I just should have had a face-to-face confrontation with her instead of the way it was handled. So the bottom line is, so she and the attorney husband run to the police. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. And so a warrant gets issued for my arrest, and so then I'm released on bail. Uh, put under house arrest, home confinement, with a GPS around my ankle, and and awaiting, further the process of, you know, how this is all going to play out, right? So after like a couple months or so, I wind up. Well, actually, what happened? Um, After a couple months, I read. She had the opportunity of writing a what is called a victim's impact statement of what kind of impact the crime had on them, and to take it a step further, the victim has the opportunity to request or recommend. That's the best word. Recommend whatever they'd like to see happen for sentencing. So there were a few things. And I hope you're sitting down for this. She wanted to see the court order me back on an antipsychotic. So, in other words, killing me with her goddamn Zyprexa wasn't good enough, right? So she wanted history to repeat itself with Zyprexa or another neuroleptic. And she has the fucking gall to describe me in the police report as being severely mentally ill. And she wants to send me to a premature death again? Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, psycho cunt. Um, and she also wanted me several years of anger management, several years of a restraining order, and for the ultimate techno fuck you, she wanted to see my right as an online presence on the internet be permanently revoked for the rest of time, and didn't want to see any of my videos appearing ever again on on the internet. You see, this is what they call authority, and authority doesn't like it when it's challenged. So when someone challenges authority, the opposition gets silenced. Okay, and this is what has happened to me, and I will elaborate a bit more further in a moment. Um, so Like I said, and then in March of that year, in 2018, I wound up, after reading this impact statement, just like in the combination of being under home confignment, uh, and with the equivalent of a daycare center located above me, and I can't deal with the friggin' noise. Um, this all pushed me over the edge, and so to vent my disgust and overall anger of the situation, so I had sent my clinician at the time an email, and I said, describing this, how she put me back on an antipsychotic, and I said, well, I mean, does she have a death wish? You know, I mean, she has a death wish, for God's sakes. I might have said something like, she's not going to get any sympathy from me anymore, you know. And a couple hours after my clinician read that email, the police were at my door, and I got arrested, and I was taken out of here in handcuffs. And I went to court, on an impromptu basis. My bail got revoked, and I got sent to county jail. Now, this is the first time I've ever found myself in this kind of situation in my life. It was a real shock to my system. And in the corrections department, and that, in that field of government, and see, they on a clinical note, they do not prescribe benzos. And of course, I've had Klonopin in my system since 1991, and as well as, Ativan in recent years. So I had to deal with instant benzo withdrawal. And within a matter of a few days, so that I start hearing voices in my head. It was the scariest thing of your life. You never think it's going to happen to you, but it was kind of like the stress overload of the situation, probably combined with the benzo withdrawal. And it was like I was, what I thought was like voices of like employees, like tormenting and haunting me about her and about the crime and all this, It was not pretty. Now I was there for 8 days to at that point return back to court, because to follow up, on the arrest, because my lawyer wasn't available and they had to figure out what they're going to do. So I wound up from there being sent to a state hospital under the Department of Mental Health to what is called to assess the competency to stand trial. Okay, so I went there, and interestingly enough, within a matter of a few days, the voices in my head went away. Perhaps because with DMH they do prescribe benzos, so I went back on the benzos. The voices go away. So maybe that, combined with being out of the the actual jail itself, had something to do with it. So so I was there. Initially it was supposed to be 3 weeks, but it turned into 7. After the 3 weeks, the assessment wasn't complete, and I had gone to court and then returned back to that hospital location, for 4 additional weeks, again for a total of 7, and in a way, it was a blessing in disguise, because if it had been completed in 3 weeks, well, either one of two things would have happened. Either I would have been committed in the hospital for who knows how many months, or longer, perhaps. So either that would have happened, or I would have returned back to jail until the whole process got set into motion of trial or whatever. So anyway, so after the 7 weeks, so at this point, the case was elevated um, initially from district court up to the superior level, okay? Because I was charged, well, yeah, I'm not going to tell you what they were, but there were 2 misdemeanors and 1 felony, okay? So, and of course, hence the felony, and that's grounds for being elevated to superior court, okay? So, so like I said, so this is now May, and back in 2018, and with the hope that I'm going to go there and be released, but that did not happen. That was not the case, and I wound up going back to that county jail where I had was hearing the voices, and sure enough, within a matter of time, the voices returned, and I was going back to court and not making any progress. It's just it just blows my mind how strung out these matters get. It's not even funny, and so then a month later in June, I'm going downhill so badly. With the voices in my head, and you know what? In fact, I remember this was back in June, I guess it was. I literally lost track of a day. I remember because I remember there was a Monday, and the next day I thought it was Wednesday. Or was it the other way around? No, maybe it was like Monday, and I thought it was Tuesday, and I was meeting with my lawyer. He said, "No, Paul, it's Wednesday." I was like, "No, it's Tuesday," and they're like, "No, it's Wednesday." I mean, I literally lost track of a day. Okay, I mean that's how bad. Okay, again, whether it was the stress overload and or the benzo withdrawal. Okay, but I'm going downhill. So I wound up getting sentenced to a different, or shipped off to a different state hospital, but this time under the DOC, Department of Corrections. Okay, tough neighborhood, tough crowd, and but remember, I'm not a victim. I'm a criminal, right? I got to get that on a shirt too. And so I was there for a month. I thought it was going to be longer than that. Miracle I made it out of there alive. And then so back, and I might add, again, like I said, I was going downhill, from May into June, and then got, shipped out in June. And when I did, and again for the second time, in June, the voices began to go away. You see. Maybe not as quickly as what happened, a couple months earlier, but not a pretty situation. And so what happens was the one slight good thing is, so in July I returned back, to the jail, and the voices did not return. Okay. Now again, I was not on any. I did not, I wasn't taking any benzos or anything, but they didn't return. So I think I somehow was able to convince myself that they were in fact, a product of my imagination, and they weren't real. And once I was able to, firmly believe that, I guess they literally, finally I got a grasp on the situation, and they dissipated. So I wasn't really planning on talking about that, but so that's okay. But so. So again, here I am back in July, and going back a couple more times. So the whole more appearances and hearings in court. I mean the whole process again, just moving at a snail's pace. And then finally on August 2nd, I got released. Okay. I've been put on a lengthy period of probation, and I have to attend anger management. I'm not going to comment on that one. And also, and again, about the authority not wanting to be exposed, you see. So I have I've been banned, okay, banned from, you know, putting more stuff on online, you know, as what I have been doing for 5-6 years. Okay, so and that ban is valid for 2 years. Okay, and again, it's all about silencing the opposition and not exposing the authority. Okay. So a couple things I also wanted to mention. I mean, really, it's a miracle I made it out of there. I was not planning to make it back home because I was convinced I was going to die, or possibly kill myself there. I don't know. I mean, because with each passing month, I was just going downhill, both mentally and physically. And when I got back on August 2nd, I had the weight loss, which some of you know has been slowly occurring in the past few years. Perhaps partially getting the Zyprexa out of my system, but who knows? But when I got home, I was down to 155. Down to 155. So I know I lost. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. Bear with me. So I was down to 155, and but although my weight has now come back up again, so but I can understand how people either die in prison or for whatever reason. It's kind of like a death trap. It really is. Now the other, I have to touch upon something else here. As far as the whole Ms. Malpractice business, okay? Now, with the anger management person, and I've told him, a background of what occurred over the years, and of course going back to, remember 2007, advising her of the possibility, of a lawsuit against, Eli Lilly with the, manufacturer of Zyprexa, to which, and again, all I got in return was complete silence with a cold, evil, mean stare. How dare you take on this authority and establishment? See, that's what it's all about. And so when I told this to the anger management person, and so he questioned, he's like, well, why didn't, and of course that, again, just to recap, that idea of a lawsuit against Eli Lilly, of course that was based upon if I could as I advised her provide if I could establish a link between Zyprexa and adversely affecting me, it's going after Eli Lilly, okay, with a lawsuit. And of course, so now the anger management person says, well, why wasn't anything changed, right, on the medication prescribing front? Damn good question, huh? And of course, as I've said before, it's like you got to grab the bull by the horns, because these goddamn prescribers are not going to listen to you. Okay, because again, they have their own protocol and agenda of drugging you up for the rest of your life, even if it results in your death. That's completely irrelevant. Okay, they don't care. Okay, now, and of course, back in, so like I said, the anger management person, found that very strange that no modifications were done on the prescribing, And I informed him of different nicknames I have for her between Ms. Malpractice and Psycho Bitch, Psycho Cunt, and all this. And um, and so, what do you think? Now, of course, it was April 2012 when I accused her of malpractice in my living room, right? And a few months before that, I was inquiring with her how frequently she met with her supervising MD psychiatrist, right? And I honestly don't recall if it was once a month or as needed. I honestly don't recall. Again, this is years ago. Okay. The one thing I do remember, however, she took great joy and pride in telling me that, oh well, he charges $300 an hour and doesn't take any insurance whatsoever. So in other words, when you're getting ready to head out the door, whip out your debit card here and pay 300 quid bucks for the hour, right? See, it's all about the money with these goddamn bastards, right? And and I found out he and his wife are a bunch of corrupt crooks, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. And so now, after a few months after I got back home in 2018, so I found something else very, very interesting about this fucking jerk off supervising the MD psychiatrist. Brace for impact. Again, just when you think this nightmare can't get any worse, okay? And honestly, this is something I should have discovered, way back, in 2012-ish, okay? Little did I know, at the same time I start grilling her back then, about how often she meets with him and accuse her of malpractice. Little did I know that this son of a bitch, this fucking jerk-off supervising psychiatrist, was in the middle of a malpractice lawsuit, wrongful death lawsuit, himself, in Superior Court, to which it lasted 2 years, from like 2010 to 2012, and it was ended, as a, settled an agreement, which sounds like, malpractice insurance financial payout to the plaintiff. That's what it sounds like. I can't confirm that. I tried, believe me, but due to confidentiality laws in the goddamn Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I could not retrieve any additional info about it. But this was done apparently in lieu of him facing like a tribunal before the State Board of Registration in Medicine and potentially facing disciplinary action. Okay, and maybe losing his license, who knows, okay? So there was this, agreement settlement. Okay, that's how that case was resolved back in 2012. But again, this is just to get another example how friggin' corrupt these goddamn bastards are. Okay, it's a goddamn disgrace, and of course I have in way back when. I just had to look something up here. Of course I've mentioned Peter Bregan and such. Now there is also another doctor who is located, I believe, in Denmark. This is somebody who I first became aware of way back, like in 2016, 2017. His name is Peter Gutzi, or I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It's Gotzsche, Peter Gutzi or Gutzi, I think. He had founded a what's known as the Cochrane Collaboration, which is like an overview of ethics in medicine. I remember reading he back in 2018 got booted out of this foundation that he created because they were sick and tired of his whistleblowing. And I mean, just Google him, and again, it's Peter Gutzi, Gotzsche, and I'll tell you, it's you know, again, it's one of my favorite lines, as he's, well, two lines I got to tell you that that he's gone on the record of saying is how I've read about this, how the business model in which the pharmaceutical companies are operating classifies as organized crime according to the United States Department of Justice. Okay, I read an article about that. And then as far as Zyprexa goes, he estimates, well, and this is actually, I believe, based upon the numbers which Eli Lilly releases from their clinical studies, but so this Dr. Gatchi, he estimates there have been approximately 200,000 deaths, you know, again, dating back to 1996 or whenever, related to people taking Zyprexa Olanzapine. Okay, so you know, if you try Googling, you know, Zyprexa 200,000 deaths, you'll come across the article. And you know, and you know, and I remember reading. I mean, he estimates. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have died as a result of taking psych meds. So, you know, where is the, you know, where are the ethics here, right? So so anyway, this is you know, what happened to me anyway, and I got a little off topic there, but so I have no idea if and when I'm going to be back. It is possible, if you're seeing this video now, I may be either back in prison or maybe dead. I don't know. Hopefully neither of them has occurred, but you know, but if you're seeing this, it's quite possible that might be the scenario. Okay, so you know, and with this you know, several year probationary period that I'm on, I'm not expecting to survive it. Again, I'm looking, and I mean, I was usually awake by 3 a.m. while I was away, you know, in, you know, hospitals, prisons, and such, and so I mean, I'm guessing 5,000 hours now of sleep loss deprivation easily. So it's bad, and I mean, I'm of course, I've been saying this for a few years, you know, that can't believe I'm still alive, but I mean, I'm so damn tired, and my, you know, my mind and my body is shutting down, and I just don't see how I'm gonna, you know, survive much longer. So you know, and on just one final note, I will say, during my threat against Psycho Bitch, I informed her. I said, well, whose fault is this whole damn mess? And I said to her, I said, it's my fault, because I was the one who made the fatal error and decision in 1995 of putting my health into her supposedly capable hands. And that decision destroyed my life. And she's a fucking bitch. And she's a fucking cunt. And she's a fucking power player. And I hope that goddamn bitch burns in hell. And I told her that. So, once again, the establishment prevails and the patient gets fucked. And that's how the system works. So on that bright note, I will end this video. And take good care of yourselves, because don't rely on the goddamn establishment to do it for you, okay? Because if you don't look out after number one, no one else will, all right? And never forget that, all right? And thank you. Bye.